Friday, small business owners. Hey, G, happy Friday. How are you doing today?
Good. Happy Friday to you.
I am super excited. It's been a few weeks since you and I have been able to do this, and we're doing something super fun for us. As we both know, we go through TikTok quite a bit here and there. It's a fun platform to go to. So today we're going to go back to debunking some of the TikTok tips and strategies for small business owners that are tied to finances, accounting, and even taxes. So let's
Perfect.
get right to it. I have four videos I'm going to share with you today. Give me your response, your feedback, whatever you think you want to comment, let's do it.
All right.
Let's start with this first one. This is one of my favorites.
Hey, small business owners, here are some end of year hacks that are absolutely going to save your ass. This video is going to focus on the three things you absolutely have to do before New Year's. So make sure you save this. You can do these things after Christmas Day. Number one, if you want to be taxed as an S corporation next year, you need to make sure that your LLC is in good standing with your state. Number two, if you have inventory of any kind or raw goods and material to make cost of goods, you need to make sure you do an inventory count or at least take pictures before December 31st. Number three, if you want to write off mileage, especially if you have a fleet of vehicles that you use in your business, absolutely make sure you take pictures of every odometer for every vehicle that you are hoping to either depreciate and or write off actual standard mileage. Now, those are just the
All right. She's one of my favorites on TikTok. Her name is Leanne. She's hilarious, has a very clean, not clean way of talking and direct. So, what do you think about those few tips?
I think the Sex and the City theme song in the background was a little loud, but the advice that she gives is good. I've never heard someone actually say to take pictures of odometers at the end of the year. So that's interesting. If you're managing your mileage through the mileage tracker in QBO, you don't really need to. So that is a great way to track your mileage throughout the year. But I guess if you haven't been paying attention to it all year long, it's a good way to make sure that you're capturing what the odometer was at the end of the year. So very good. I definitely agree with her on the inventory. Got to make sure that it's counted out. I don't really think pictures is necessary inventory wise, but definitely need to have a count documented and saved for sure.
Yeah, that seemed a little bit odd, just taking a picture, maybe for your own records, just to make sure that you count it through the picture if you don't have
Yeah,
time right there and
exactly.
then.
I think she's just trying to get verified, verification on file so that there's some proof that, it was looked at.
That it was. All right, moving on to the second one.
So, if you are a small business owner, it is almost tax time. If you did not make any money this year or you made very little, I want to let you in on a secret. Still report your losses for 21 as it pertains to your business. So, if you did anything for the start of your business, any startup cost, purchase business cards, if you incorporated your business, so you filed an LLC, if you ran ads on Facebook or IG or TikTok, if you purchased shirts for your business, if you made purchase supplies for your business, any type of business expenses, even if you made any money or not, you can still report your losses when you file your taxes. So get with a tax preparer that is experienced with small businesses, because in the future, I know it may not even matter or seem like much right now, but you want to have that track record that you actually did start up your business and you did try to go out there, and you want to use this to be able to reduce your tax liability. If you are working a job and you usually have to pay, these business expenses can help you to deduct and have to maybe not have to owe.
What do you think?
Well, I think, there's some truth to what she said. I think that it's a little bit more nuanced than, she is making it seem, depending on, when you started your business and what exactly were the costs that were associated with starting up the business. There's something called organizational expenses, which is when you're organizing the business and getting ready to start. Those typically go to the balance sheet and they get amortized over 15 years. So that's number one. And then number two, if she was basically talking about expenses that were incurred where you were already operating, but you weren't taking any revenue in,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, then you're still an operating business. So she's right? You have to capture all of that information and you still have to file even if you didn't make revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very important to talk to a tax preparer. I don't, although like she made it very simple, I think it's a little bit more complicated than it seems.
And unique to each person and each business type, I'm sure as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for that. Let's move on to the third one.
Here's an accounting tip for your small business.
All right, let's say you're catching up on your bookkeeping. If you're doing it in Excel, you're going to download everything. You're going to figure out if it's personal or it's business. The last thing you have to do, though, is assign a category to the business transactions. 90% of these, you're going to be able to figure out pretty quickly what they are. But people always run across things that they don't know what they're for or if they can write them off. If you run into this situation, what you want to do is you want to make a special category. I like to call it uncategorized. Some people call it Ask My Accountant. This special category is going to be super transparent to you and to your accountant. What you can do is you can review this and say, okay, I didn't know what these were. Let me investigate a little bit more and see what I spent this money on. Or you can ask your accountant and say, can I write these off or not?
Gee, I was waiting to see if I'm going to see a reaction on your face when he said, if you're doing it in Excel.
Yeah. I mean, look, people still do it in Excel. It's totally unnecessary at this point to me to be doing things in Excel. But, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there was definitely some good information in there. Uncat is a bucket. It's like an expense account usually, or an income account that is just where you put things that you don't know what they are, so that you can do more research to figure them out. We use it all the time, and it's usually the bucket that we drop things in when we need to ask our members what it is that they spent money on. And vice versa, it could work the other way around. If you're doing it for yourself and you need to ask your accountant whether or not something's deductible, you can put it in there as well. Chances are, if you're doing this at the end of the year, you're probably going to have a higher likelihood that there's more things in the uncut account, which is why it's important to keep up with it throughout the year. But the bottom line is if you can't identify what it was, you don't have a receipt, chances are you're going to lose the deduction and you're not going to be allowed to take it. And then if there's something that might be personal or might be business, that's a conversation that you're going to have with your accountant. But what he said in terms of like Excel, that's one of the tools that we use in order to separate out personally paid business expenses. We typically have our members go in, download everything into a CSV file, and delete off everything that was personal to leave only the business expenses left, and have them send that to us so we can upload it into QBO and quickly categorize it out.
That makes sense.
It works really well if you do that. Obviously, we don't recommend that you commingle funds, but we know it happens. And so it's important that you get those expenses on the books so you can take the deduction.
Awesome. That was great advice and just expansion of what was shared. Now we're going to go back to the last video of today. My favorite, going back to Lee Ann, her attitude.
Here's another dirty little secret about QuickBooks that the financial people will never tell the small business community. Did you know that QuickBooks was made for accountants, by accountants, for accountants to use, not for people like you? Because the company who owns it, Intuit, figured out that if they could sell you a product and that their product didn't only have to be used by the limited number of CPAs in the world, then they have created a whole new market for themselves. Except that it still thinks like an accountant. Let me give you an example. Did you know that in QuickBooks, a credit is actually a debit? That means the plus is always a minus. Delegate your bookkeeping, people. Don't even try to master QuickBooks.
That was great advice. But what do you think about that concept?
Yeah. I guess maybe I'm in such an accountant mindset that I don't really even think about some of the things that she just mentioned, debits and credits, because I don't even understand what she's talking about. But yeah, originally it was built for accountants to use. I definitely think they put a lot of things in place in order to try and make it a little easier. And actually in QuickBooks right now, there's actually 2 views within the system where you can view it in an accountant view and you can view it in a business view. The business view is meant for the layman's people, the accountants. And I find it way more difficult to use. And actually most business owners find it more difficult to use than the accountant side of it.
Wow.
But chances are, if you're not an accountant, you really shouldn't be doing your accounting. There's probably other ways or other better ways that you can be spending your time in order to make more money. it doesn't really make much sense to be doing it through here. The minute that you start getting a little bit more complexity too, it becomes really challenging really fast. And if you don't set this up correctly from the beginning, it's going to cause you a lot of problems later on. So you might as well just start right from the very beginning. And also too, I think you have to be really careful with who you hire, because there's a lot of people out there that, although they might have the basics of bookkeeping, the minute that you add in any complexity, or if you know that you're going to be growing your business and you know that you're taking it somewhere else, you're probably quickly going to grow out of their skill set, and they're not going to set it up in a way that's going to allow for you to grow into it very easy and seamlessly, which means you're going to be paying someone to make changes to it later anyway.
Yeah. That's great advice as always, Giuseppe. Those are all the videos for today. In that case, if anybody has any questions, you want to contact us, speak to Giuseppe directly, share your own TikTok tips for us to debunk, send them our way. Visit Tentho.com, or just share your messages in the DMs. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye.